Welcome to Dark Legends, where we uncover the mysteries that history tried to keep hidden. In the grip of the Great Depression, a hero to some, a villain to others, emerged from the shadows. John Herbert Dillinger, armed with nothing but charm and a desperate daring, would soon become the country's most captivating outlaw. As America lay battered by economic storms, trust in its institution dwindled. Among those watching the banks with scorn was a young John Dillinger, whose early hardships had taught him to distrust those in power. Orphaned young and disciplined harshly by a stern father, Dillinger's charm masked a growing resentment. A botched petty theft landed him in prison, but rather than reform, the young man found a different calling among the career criminals who became his mentors and future allies. With each tale of robbery and escape, a plan began to form in Dillinger's mind. But as he stepped back into the free world, would his audacious plans lead to fortune or folly? 1933, the gang's first target loomed ahead: the new Carlisle Bank. Dillinger, cloaked in an air of casual bravado, entered the bank with his gang. As the clock struck the hour, chaos erupted, orchestrated to perfection. Money flowed into their bags as smoothly as fear spread through the room. It was more than a robbery. It was a statement. Dillinger was here, and he was here to stay. As they disappeared into the day, the myth of Dillinger grew. But with fame came the relentless pursuit of law enforcement, their nets drawing ever tighter around the daring gang. With his face plastered across every newspaper, how would Dillinger evade capture when every eye in the country was watching? As the gang crisscrossed state lines, their exploits became the stuff of legend. Banks were emptied before the alarms could even sound. But it was not just the law that watched Dillinger. A darker threat loomed. The underworld is jealous, and Dillinger's success had made him enemies in high and low places alike. Plans were whispered in shadowed corners. Plans to betray, to backstab, to usurp. As Dillinger planned his most audacious heist yet, in the heart of Chicago, could he outsmart his enemies, both in badges and in the shadows? Chicago, with its towering skyscrapers and shadowy alleys, was a city of contrasts and conflicts. Here John Dillinger would stage his greatest performance, a heist that would either make him a legend or seal his fate. The First National Bank of Chicago was the fortress, and Dillinger the besieger. With every detail scrutinized, every timing checked twice, the stage was set. But the city was a hive of spies, and Dillinger's moves were watched more closely than he knew. As D-Day dawned, the gang slipped into the bank, under the guise of businessmen. Within moments, the quiet was shattered by the crack of gunfire. Dillinger's declaration of war against the system. They moved like shadows, swift and silent. But as they prepared to leave, sirens wailed. The trap was sprung, and the streets outside were flooded with police. Cornered, with every exit a gauntlet, could Dillinger's quick wits and quicker reflexes find a way out? Or was this the end of his storied run? They escaped narrowly, but the heist had cracked the armor. Suspicion poisoned the gang. Trust, once their greatest asset, now became their biggest threat. As the walls closed in and enemies circled, paranoia set in. Whispers of betrayal echoed through the hideout. One of their own, tempted by greed or twisted by fear, was plotting against them. With the gang fraying at the edges, Dillinger planned one final heist, a last great score to secure their futures and restore their fractured bonds. But with a traitor in their midst, could Dillinger's final gamble restore his crumbling empire? Or would it bring about his spectacular downfall? The storm raged, as if nature itself conspired against them. The target was a high-stakes casino, flush with cash and crawling with security. This was more than a heist. It was a final act of defiance, a statement to the world. As they breached the vault, the betrayal unfolded. The traitor revealed himself, turning guns on his former comrades. In the chaos, money was forgotten, survival paramount. With sirens in the distance and his gang disintegrating, Dillinger faced his moment of truth. He could flee, vanish into the shadows, or stand and fight for the loyalty of those who remained. As the final bullets were fired, what would be Dillinger's legacy? In the echo of gunshots, would he be remembered as a daring outlaw or a tragic hero? The sun rose over Chicago, stained with the echoes of gunfire and betrayal. John Dillinger, the man who had danced through the gunfire and slipped through the fingers of the law, lay motionless. His saga ended not with a grand escape, but with a silent surrender to fate. As the news of Dillinger's demise spread, a collective sigh, part relief, part regret, rippled across the nation. The man who had become a symbol of resistance against the crushing weight of economic despair was gone. In the days that followed, America grappled with the legacy of John Dillinger. Was he a villain, a victim, or something more? A folk hero for some, a cautionary tale for others. His story was as complex as the era that forged him. Historians debate, filmmakers romanticize, and authors write, but the essence of Dillinger's life lies in the murky waters of moral ambiguity. He was a product of his time, a reflection of the nation's darkest and most desperate moments. Years have passed, yet John Dillinger's name still resonates. In museums, his memorabilia attract crowds. In books, his strategies are studied. And in films, his charisma is immortalized. The debate over his actions remains alive, sparking discussions about justice, about rebellion, and about the fine line between heroism and lawlessness. As we look back, we see not just a man, but a mirror, reflecting the complexities of human nature and the societal pressures that shape our actions. John Dillinger's legacy is not defined by the banks he robbed, but by the conversations he started, the reflections he inspired, and the enduring questions about society, justice, and the paths we choose. In the whispers of his past, we find not just stories of a bygone era, but lessons that echo through time.